Hi guys, my name's Mark and I'm just going to make a short video on how to set up your hot tub and things that you need to be mindful of. I couldn't find anything like this on YouTube when I was setting mine up, so I thought I'd just make something quite quick. First thing that I want to just say is please follow your manufacturer's instructions. This is just advice. I'm not liable in any way if something happens. I want you to be safe, so make sure you are always following your manufacturer's instructions. But these things might be able to help you just go along the way and set up your hot tub. First thing is just think about positioning. So you don't want it to be too far away from your electrical point. And my electrical point is just the other side by my hose reel just there. So the wire runs along the bottom of the fence into the hot tub, which means I haven't got an electrical wire going a long way away. Somewhere else we'd thought about putting it was up on the decked area just back there. But obviously more wire means more money, and just want to be mindful and think about where you would use your hot tub the most. We've decided just here, and actually we use it quite a lot now at barbecues and things like that as well. If you want to know the other bits of the video, they're in the contents with the times next to it, so you can fast forward through if you don't want to watch the whole thing. So the first thing, as I said, is you need to think about where your electrical hookup is going to go. Now, one wire at the bottom here on the right hand side actually goes off around all the way to the side of my house into my garage, and that goes directly into my fuse box. And then the other wire on the left hand side here goes to the hot tub. Now it's very easy to control. This is currently on. I kind of turn it that way and it turns it off, and turn it this way and it turns it back on. Now you will need something like this installed by an electrician, and that can be quite expensive, around £200, so be mindful of that when you are thinking about ordering or buying your hot tub. So from that electrical point on the wall, the wires then run along the fence for me and enters the hot tub in there. Now again, the same thing, I would suggest that you employ an electrician, and that electrician sets this up for you, so make sure that everything's fine. As I say, my hot tub is a 13 amp hot tub, and so the cable is quite serious and costs a little bit of extra money obviously, but I know it's all done properly and I know it's completely safe. Okay, so my hot tub is now in position from the great people of Tubs to You, and I've now been filling it. It's taken around 3 hours to fill up, which is absolutely fine. It's probably a little bit higher than what it needs to be, if I'm honest with you, but that's just because I've left it going. But the main point I want to be able to show you, which you should be able to see, is these two dots. These two dots in the hot tub, the water line must be over there. Those are the ones that control the temperature. And now the hot tub's filled up, I'm going to go and turn it on at the wall where I showed you earlier, and the control panel is then going to come on, and I'll be able to set up the controls. Okay, so you've finally moved your hot tub into position and the electric hookup is in place, and then this will be the control that is presented to you. So the first thing that you can notice is that there are 3 dots. This shows that the control is in standby mode, but there's 2 things that you need to do in standby mode. The first thing is adjust the time. So you can press minute or hour, and the minutes will start flashing, the hours will start flashing. Actually it's just kind of turned into British summertime, so I need to bring it forward an hour. So as it's flashing, I can move it forward an hour. Then I can either do one or 2 things. I can just leave that to flash for a little while and it will lock, or I could press the standby button, and the standby button will also make that lock. So what you can see, I've left it for a little while now and it's currently locked. So that's the time set. The next thing now is the cycle. So as you can see here, I've got this little cycle button. What I want to do to start off with is I want to press that, and the first thing that's flashing here, this is the time that the blowers and everything will come on, all of the pumps will come on. So I've set mine for 2 o'clock in the morning. That's brilliant. And then over here in the set button, if I press set, that gives me the amount of time that you want to do it for. So you can either set it for minutes or hours. I use my hot tub quite regularly, so I've only just done a quick 10-minute blast every day at 2 o'clock in the morning. I click set. It takes me back to the time of day that it's going to come on. I can then press the standby button, and the standby button will then set that for me, and you know that that's done then because the little circle button there on the screen is showing that there's going to be a cycle at a different time of the day. Now the next thing you need to do is turn standby mode off, so the 3 dots are then gone. This is where you now set the hot tub to heat up. You need to just here where the temperature button is, press that. You can see I've currently got the temperature set to 38. You press that a couple of times, it will go through all the different temperatures. So maybe you want it slightly hotter. So let's say today I'm going to set it at 38, and the next button you need to press is this preheat button down here. Preheat must stay on. If preheat turns off, then the hot tub will not be able to heat up. Now, things that happen to turn this off: someone pressing the button will also turn it off. That will stop the hot tub heating up. Or if someone puts it into standby mode, if you click the standby button, that will also turn off the preheat, which means if you set it off in the middle of the night and you think, oh, that's good, it'll be ready for tomorrow, it won't be, because you set that standby mode on. So you need to keep standby off, keep your preheat on, and then your screen should look something like this, and it will slowly, as I say, increase to 38 Celsius, and then it will maintain 38 Celsius, and it will come on whenever it drops below that heat. So you might hear it come on every now and again. That's absolutely fine. It's maintaining the heat for you. Okay, so the hot tub's in a regular place. It's starting to heat up. It's come up now from where we'd started off, and it's really starting to get close to the temperature that you want it to. Just going to talk to you now quickly about how to use the blowers and things. 3 puts on a general cycle, and what you'll be able to see is it's just kind of pumping the water through, and you can turn that off. 1 turns on everything, turns on all the fountains, turns on all the pumps, and again, just turn that off by pressing it. Now, what will happen is that when the hot tub is coming up to temperature, pump 3 will always come on. Okay, and that is what is bringing the water up to temperature, so you cannot turn that off. So if you're getting out of the hot tub and it's still coming up to temperature, that's fine, just leave number 3 on, that's not a problem. When it gets to temperature, it will shut itself off, so you don't need to worry about trying to turn it off. At the moment, I'm happy with my temperature and the hot tub at being 35 Celsius, so I've just left that, and as you can see, nothing's having to come on. Even though I've left the preheat button on, just to ensure that if it dropped below 35, it would come on and it would bring it back up to temperature for me. Okay, so a few bits of general information now about the hot tub and just things that I found out in general. The first thing that I found out was actually the aromatherapy kind of section. This little, if you open it up, you can put aromatherapy balls and things in there. Now, when that wasn't tight, air was getting in, and it was making quite a loud noise, like a sucking kind of like vroom, vroom, and it actually made the hot tub very, very loud in the first few days when I first had it, and I was a bit like, what's wrong, what's wrong? I tightened that up to as much as possible, and actually that makes a big difference because it's trying to suck air through that area, so it's very important that obviously that is nice and tight. Down in this bottom left hand corner just here, you've got an overflow pipe. After you've used it, that probably needs to be emptied. I'm just going to kind of show you. I just kind of step on it and a bit of water kind of dribbles out. You can lock that in place, and that overflow section is just that on the other side of the filter. Try to point to it, sorry. There we go. That one just there. So it's just the other side of the filter. And then you've got the one that empties it. Now, I've attached a hose clip to it, because what I can then do is I've got a waste pipe that I will attach directly to that. I will then push it in and turn it, lock it in place, and then it can drain overnight. I'll always turn the hot tub off before that, and then allow it to drain overnight so it's ready for cleaning. One thing about the positioning, I was quite fortunate actually, I didn't really plan this, but I positioned mine next to my fence, and then what I was able to do is I was able to leave it clipped into the side, so when you get the hot tub you get some clips. Those clips look like that. I screwed them into the side of the hot tub. I was able to leave those attached, and then when I lift the lid off I rest it against the fence, so I didn't actually need an arm. Now if you're struggling maybe with kind of the ability to be able to do that, to be able to lift it, the arm is very useful, but for me at the moment that's not really too much of a problem, so I'm able to just leave it connected on that side, and I lift it up. Obviously I fold it over, you can see it's folded over, and then rest it against the fence, so I was quite lucky with that. I'm now going to give you some tips on the chemicals. So this grey box is the filter, and the filter is kind of in behind there. What you need to do is you lift the silver grey shield out, and then there's a tray in there, and there's another grey tray, and that comes out as well. You'll then see the filter, and the filter unscrews out of the hot tub. It's important that you do this quite regularly. I would say do it weekly. It keeps the filter nice and fresh, keeps your water nice and fresh. If you don't do it regularly, your water will turn quite cloudy and doesn't look very good, and also your filter won't last as long. They suggest that you buy filters kind of every 4 months and drain your hot tub every 4 months. For me personally, I've kind of kept on top of the filter kind of maintenance, and what it's meant is that I've not had to drain my hot tub as often, and also I've not had to buy another filter yet, and so it's coming up to kind of 10 months now, and it's still working quite well. I think it probably is time for a bit of a change with the filter, but you can find those on eBay as well. When you get it out, what you have to do really is just hose it down, hose it from lots of different angles, and that's kind of it. It's quite easy to do. You put it back in and screw it back in, but as a bit of advice, you don't want the hot tub to come on, so you want the hot tub off. So I would go back to your electrical point and just turn it off from the electrical point whilst you're doing your filter. That way you know the hot tub definitely isn't going to come on to try and maintain the water heat or the water temperature, and you know that everything's going to be fine. Information on chemicals. My first piece of advice is to go and buy a starter kit. You get these 4 bottles plus some infusion thingies, some oxidizer packs, and some test strips. Now the test strips are very important because you need to know what your water is like in the area that you live. So you put your test strip in and it will give you your readings, and what you then need to do is you either need to use a pH increaser or a pH reducer. In my area I need to use pH increaser, so when I filled up my hot tub I usually have to put half a cap in at the start, and then I don't touch that stuff again. I don't touch the pH reducer or the increaser or the other one. I don't use those 3 after I've filled up the hot tub. But what I then use is a lot of chlorine granules. I tend to, after use, put 2 caps in, but if I've been in there with other people, maybe my family or my friends, I might use 3 or 4 caps then, depending upon the amount of time that I've been in there. You go through a lot of chlorine. I had the bottom one I used for about the first 3 months, and then the big one I bought just literally from eBay, and it cost me about 15 quid, but then that's lasted me the rest of the time, and I've had the hot tub now for about a year, and that's lasted me quite well. When you are using the granules though, you have to be very wary of the dust. There's a lot of kind of chlorine dust, and if you breathe that in, it's not very nice, so you need to be very mindful of that. You might want to buy just like a simple face mask from B&Q, just so that if you're either filling up the smaller bottle or you're using the big bottle, using the caps, that you just put that on just to keep yourself, as I say, safe. These oxidizing packs, when your water is maybe not very nice, but say you've got having a bit of a barbecue and you want your water to look a little bit better, you can put one of those sachets in. It takes about, for me personally, it says a few hours, but for me it's better if you do it the day before, and your water does come up just a little bit nicer again. Again, this is just my own advice. I'm not telling you what to do or how you should do it, but actually I know my hot tub quite well now after a year, and I've not had to buy any more of these test strips. I'm very confident and happy now that when I fill up my hot tub, I know how much increaser I have to put in, and then after that, I know how much chlorine I want to use. But when you are using your hot tub, I would suggest that you use these as often as you see fit, just to make sure that you are comfortable and that all the water levels are in the right area. That's important, because as we're saying, we don't want you to kind of get ill or the hot tub not to be good for the people that you're using it for. So the test strips are very important, and you will become very comfortable with your hot tub over time. But as I said, legally, make sure you're testing that water and make sure that all the levels are where they're meant to be. Now, just a final piece on the chlorine. It's important that you do the chlorine regularly, I would say once a day. And the reason being is that if you don't put chlorine into your hot tub, the water can go quite cloudy and it doesn't look very appealing. If you do that for too long, you might have to use one of these oxidizers. But if you keep the chlorine topped up just with, as I said, a cap or 2 caps, even when you're not using it, it keeps the water nice and fresh and allows you to not have to drain it as often.